Greetings, 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 greetings to you all. Welcome to my second video, and it's titled The Power of the African Black Man. So I have a bead necklace on, which is to celebrate, or it's a form of celebration, and I'm celebrating diverse cultures in Africa. So you see me repping my Igbo vibe, I'm in my African Igbo element. I have an Igbo cap on, an Igbo necklace, and an Igbo bracelets. First of all, I love every African people. I'm free. I identify myself as an African before anything else. So before I even say I'm a Ghanaian, Sierra Leonean, I am an African first, and I was African first. And I have every right to embrace whatever African countries, and I embrace it in a loving, and I embrace it as a form of unity. So today, if you see me dressing like an Igbo, first of all I want to say is, Cha Cha Igbo Kwenu, Cha Cha Igbo Kwenu, Igbo Amaka, Be Chuku Chineke, Eze, the great I am, bless all Igbo people. Igbo people are so unique people. I love the Igbos. And so do I love other people like the Yorubas and the rest. Like my first video about the trauma video, you saw me with the Yoruba clothing. I love the Igbos, and as I said, I'm not an Igbo. I'm not a native Igbo. I'm not from the Igbo tribe. But there's one thing I admire about other African tribes, so I also admire about the Igbos, is that the Igbos have this self-esteem. They believe in themselves, they are confident, and as well, they think highly of themselves. You can never put an Igbo person down. An Igbo person believes in him or herself. Big ups to the Igbos for their contribution in Africa and the diaspora. You know that during the slave trade, the Igbo, when it comes to the slave revolt, you have the Akan people from Ghana, you have the Igbos, you have the Fon Aja from Benin, you have the Balanta from Guinea-Bissau, and you had other African people, the Yorubas from Nigeria, Togo, Benin, and other African people, rising and fighting against oppressive system. And you had the Igbos. They talked about the Igbos' presence in Virginia area. The Virginia in America, they have an Igbo village. It was a way to honor the Igbo people descent. We have Igbo, talk about the Igbo revolt in Bahamas, Barbados, extend to other Caribbean nations, and Igbo, and you have the Igbo way of living, the Igbo food, the Igbo traditional names, and you got also the Igbo spiritual way of life. They are very unique and one of the kind, and so are the Igbo men, and so are the Igbo sisters. And apart from the sisters in Africa and all the African queens, I admire and I love every African woman. I love African women as a sister, as a queen, and as a loving soul. So I'm just gonna do my video right now, because if I'm going to talk about the Igbos, I have a lot to stop. But Igbo, I love you guys, okay? I don't know if I said the right Igbo word for I love you. Is this Ifo Nyanya or whatever? Is it Ifo Nyanya? If I said it wrong, Igbo correct me. But I know in Yoruba we say Monifere. So Igbo people, Monifere. Everybody, I love you. I love all African people. Now let's focus on today's topic: the power of the African. The black men, rise up, be the kings and queens, the father we want. Number one, keynote. So if you see me looking at this note here, as I told you, my podcast, whenever I talk, most of the time I write it down. So, keynotes. So I have it here. Keynotes, the value of the African black man. Now, the African black man has to understand that he's the architect of the family. He's a masculine father, confident, brave father, a spiritual leader in the household. Now, the importance of the African black man's presence, a father presence. Absent father. So, the absent father presence creates a childhood trauma. Now, it will be very difficult to heal from such trauma because the child is not exposed to masculinity or what manhood or what really a man is. You know, he's not groomed, or when I say groom is the right way, I won't say groom, but transformed or shaped to become a responsible grown person when he becomes an adult. Okay, healing trauma is very necessary for African fathers and the African son. If I say African, I'm referring to continental Africans, black people of African ancestry. So if you have African ancestry and you're in the Caribbean, America, Haiti, Jamaica, you're still an African. So I relate that to you. Yes, you're of your nationality you have. So if you're Haitian, you are African Haitian. If you're African American, African American. If you're Jamaican, African Jamaican. You know, whatever. If you're black Brazilian, you are African Brazilian. So this message for the black race and the African people in general. Okay. Now, healing trauma. Now, I want to say this. African mothers who are divorced, single mothers, you don't know that you create trauma for your children with this divorce. And I say this is that you deny the father access to the child. African woman, we are not perfect, but learn to forgive the African men. Sometimes the men need reality check. And let me tell you, you said the father is an absent father, but you don't know that most of the time, absent father is more of a neglect or an absentee father not being around, which creates childhood trauma. So childhood trauma and the lack of fatherhood, it is a cycle. So if you, let's say for example, if your father never had his father around, he was turning to his son. If the cycle is not broken, and it's turned to a different generation. Like we have a bunch of fathers who are just baby producers, but not fathers. That's a problem. They are just father of a child, but they are not a father in a child's life. And then African mothers, the African women have to learn how to extend unconditional love to the African men. Forgive the African men. African men, sometimes we are egoistic and we are prideful. Sometimes we need to face reality check. We are not better than African women. We are all human beings and we have to respect African women. African wives, respect your African husband. African husband, value, cherish, and respect your African wife. And then we talked about the importance of spirituality. So spirituality, you know what is right, what is worthy, what is uplifting, what is honorable is termed as godly. So African men, you are spiritual fathers, you are spiritual men, spiritual mentees, spiritual leaders. You're the priest, high priest of your household. You're the one who lead your family in spirituality and everything and faith-wise. So do the African father have to exhibit the trait of a godly and a spiritual trait, a godly trait and a spiritual leadership trait that is necessary for the African child. So next message is about the brainwashed wannabe Africans. Now African women, when it comes to the Western world, I call these women brainwashed wannabe black mothers who want to be westernized, selfish, greedy, prideful, adopting a Western brainwashed lifestyle. Brainwashed wannabe African black fathers, insecure, obsession with African black women, and obsession with the African black child. Okay? The African black child trauma wounds. Their dream becomes a nightmare. The importance of fatherhood. Now we need fathers to be responsible. That will shape to sons becoming great fathers. The love, upliftment, and encouraging bond between the father and son. African fathers, sometimes we lack this because sometimes you have to do with our upbringing and the way we see society or the way we think. But it's very important that an African father is responsible, show love, uplift his child, encourage his sons and daughters to be confident in whatever they do. Show them love, uplift them. When they are doing something great, uplift them. When they are down, encourage them. This is the short message I can do about it. I mean, if I'm going to do a whole series about this thing, I'm going to go deep and deep. And I know that, you know, my video, I cannot extend. Sometimes I have to limit, you know, I have to cut my message short. But pretty much, thank you very much, every African people, whether you're from the eastern part of Africa, western part of Africa, North Africa, the whole of Africa, wherever you're from, whatever country you're from, remember we are one Africa, and we stand against injustice and unite as one people. One Africa, one dream, one vision, one people. United we stand. African unity is a priority and it's a must. Unite Africa or perish. One love. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Peace.